The downgrading of France's credit rating by a top US agency is casting a heavy cloud over the newly installed Prime Minister's attempts to draft a budget. The Fitch agency downgraded France on its ability to pay back debts from AA- to A+, its lowest credit score on record. It also said the country's debt mountain would keep rising until 2027 unless urgent action was taken. The move comes just 4 days after former Prime Minister François Bayrou lost a parliamentary confidence vote over an attempt to get an austerity budget adopted. He had sought major spending cuts in the budget in a bid to cut the French deficit and debt. Well, Sebastien Lecornu, who took over as Prime Minister last week, is meeting with opposition parties and unions to try to find common ground on a 2026 budget, as well as other issues. On Wednesday, he'll meet with the Socialists, who are demanding a wealth tax on the ultra-rich as a condition for not voting to topple his government, just like the last one. Well, for more on this story, we can bring in French politics editor Mark Perelman on set. Mark, tell us more about these talks then that Sebastien Lecornu is holding with union members and opposition party members. How are they going along?
Well, it's difficult, obviously, until we see a result. But what we can see is that the Prime Minister has decided really to reach out to opposing political parties this week, also to the different unions, because he has to manage the political equation, which is extremely complicated, try to form a coalition and hopefully pass a budget in the next few weeks, given what happened to his predecessor, who couldn't gain a vote of confidence in the National Assembly because of the budget plan he had presented. And also, he knows the social movement could really start. There's a strike, a general strike call this Thursday. This is why Sebastien Lecornu met this morning with the head of the hard left union CGT. Obviously, they have very, very big differences, but he wanted to show that he was reaching out even to people he cannot compromise with. The leader of the CGT coming out of the Prime Minister's office saying, we want really the pension reform that was voted after many, many weeks of protest. We wanted its abrogation, and I believe the Prime Minister will not last until this winter. So obviously, he has a very, very difficult equation to manage. He has already said that he doesn't want to rush. First of all, forming a government, he said it's better to agree on some key points, maybe a few bills in parliament, rather than say, okay, I need to form a government immediately. He's already announced that his maiden speech before the National Assembly will be on October 2nd, which gives him 2 to 3 weeks to hopefully come with a program and manage to reach out to the socialists while keeping the conservative in his own camp, and also relying on the centrist coalition that is supposedly backing him. But everything is extremely, extremely fragile. You just mentioned the pressure of financial markets. That's clearly there. There's also obviously a geopolitical context that's complicated in Europe, worries also in Brussels. So the Prime Minister would like to take his time, but the clock is clearly ticking, and he has to show very soon some results. Hopefully the meeting, as you said, on Wednesday with the Socialists will be conclusive. He has to find, if not a full agreement, at least a compromise whereby the Socialists will not vote against him in Parliament. This does not mean that they would vote for him, but if he can buy their neutrality, this would be a big step for him and hopefully allow him to survive and pass a budget.
So where does the far-right National Rally stand in all this? Are they going to be the kingmakers? And, this is a party that has been on the rise over the years, especially now they've got their eye on that presidential election in 2027.
Yes, the National Rally obviously holds the key. They have the biggest bloc in Parliament. They're far from a majority, and obviously they do not agree with the centrist bloc and the leftist bloc. They only agree when they can vote a motion of no confidence. And this is what they did when they brought down Michel Barnier several months ago. The National Rally and the left decided we join our votes. We disagree, but we agree to throw the Prime Minister out. And the National Rally, when François Bayrou arrived, they said, we'll see what he does. We will not pull the trigger immediately. Now, Marine Le Pen, last weekend and again this weekend, threatened very, very clearly to pull the trigger now, or possibly in the coming weeks. She said, we don't trust Sebastien Lecornu. Sebastien Lecornu is just Emmanuel Macron. He's just really so close to Emmanuel Macron that we don't see the difference. People are fed up with Emmanuel Macron. So much more aggressive National Front. They're not calling for Emmanuel Macron's resignation, like the hard left Front and Bao, but they want early election. They said, Lecornu will fare no better than François Bayrou, no better than Michel Barnier. Let's not lose time. It's urgent. Everyone agrees the situation is dire. Let's go before the French. Let's ask them to vote a new parliamentary election. The president refuses to do so. But if Sebastien Lecornu is not able to survive more than several weeks, he might be forced to do so because he's tried several prime ministers. None of them could fly more than a few months in the National Assembly. If that's the case again, he might be forced to call for those early elections, and then no one knows what will happen. The polls are showing that there would indeed be such a division, but that the National Rally would clearly be on top.
All right, Mark Perelman, many questions remain, obviously. Thank you very much for your insight.